In 2021, the Nigerian government pushed out its CBDC, the e-Naira.
This made Nigeria the second country in the world after the Bahamas to roll out a CBDC, and certainly, with 230 million people and the largest economy in Africa, the biggest political jurisdiction to do so. The CBDC efforts have been led by Godwin Emefiele, who since 2014 has headed up the Central Bank of Nigeria, or CBN. In July of 2021, Emefiele announced the pending launch of the e-Naira, using proprietary software built on Hyperledger Fabric with mobile apps for consumers and merchants. 3 months later, in partnership with 33 banks, the e-Naira was launched. To use the e-Naira, individuals go through a tiered KYC system, their transaction and balance limits hinging on the level of information they provide. Once the individual's biometrics are captured by the Nigeria Interbank Settlement Services database, they become a number, a bank verification number assigned to them for life. Emefiele stated in no uncertain terms, "The destination, as far as I am concerned, is to achieve a 100% cashless economy in Nigeria. This, despite the fact that Nigerians were overwhelmingly reliant on cash."
Nigeria is a really cash-heavy population. They use cash a lot.
Fully 90% of business in Nigeria was cash-based, so it was no surprise that a year after the e-Naira was launched, only 0.5% of Nigerians had downloaded a wallet. An IMF report about e-Naira penetration, which begins by stating that CBDCs have become one of the fanciest concepts among central bankers, called the adoption rate disappointingly low.
Given this pathetic showing, the Nigerian government then turned to hardball. First, they mandated discounts for paying in CBDCs. Then they redesigned the physical currency to flush out informal cash.
Under the guise of looking out for the weak and vulnerable, mitigating political corruption, and deterring counterfeit notes, Nigerians were told they had to turn in their old banknotes, as they would cease to be considered legal tender at the end of January 2023. Nigerians soon found that this new banknote scheme was part of the push to force them away from using cash and into using the e-Naira, because when they turned in their old banknotes, they were not given new banknotes in the same amount.
Finally, they went nuclear, limiting cash withdrawals from ATMs to $40 per day to force people into the CBDC and to achieve a, quote, 100% cashless economy.
Despite claims by Emefiele that everything was going to work smoothly, there was a shortage of new banknotes. That's no surprise, because in just one calendar year, the physical currency supply of cash was halved.
The latest cashless policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria remains a topical issue among the citizens. While some stakeholders applaud the policy as a step in the right direction, many others have critiqued the initiative as insensitive to the common man.
We are telling them and we are warning them that they should not allow Nigerians to suffer.
The cash limits led to complete chaos. People could not buy groceries, stores could not stock their shelves, gas stations ran out of fuel in the largest oil-producing country in Africa. Nigeria was rocked by widespread riots, including burning down banks and even central bank branches.
With the cash supply made so tight, the CBN claims the adoption rate for the e-Naira jumped from 0.5% to 6%.
The Naira redesign and cash withdrawal limit policies have resulted in a sizable reduction in currency outside the bank, indicating expected improvement in the potency of monetary policy tools.
Emefiele's complacency for the well-being of people on the ground was echoed by Simon Chantry, co-founder of Draper, Utah-based Banking Innovation Through Technology, or BIT, with whom the CBN partnered to release the e-Naira. During a recent Zoom meeting, Chantry likened the harsh policies imposed by the CBN to a creative option.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see central banks try different, creative options to see what's going to stimulate adoption.
I can only say that the adoption rate continues to increase and improve, and everything is being done to continue to make sure that this continues to go up.
And to try to further push top-down adoption onto more Nigerians, Emefiele and the CBN is now courting New York-based tech outfit R3. Emefiele purports to be a humble civil servant.
The truth is this, we are all servants. We are serving Nigerians.
But really, Emefiele is most comfortable in his ivory tower, where he has received praise from technocratic cohorts who seek to control and surveil. Overall, the draconian measures by Emefiele and his cronies to transition almost 250 million people from a cash-based existence to one they manage was shoddy, to say the least. As Bloomberg reported, Nigeria has been among countries at the forefront of initiatives to establish and support blockchain-based digital versions of their hard currencies, and like most of them, it has struggled to win wide adoption. Still, numerous central banks around the globe are crafting similar efforts. Indeed, the regimes of 114 countries, representing 95% of global GDP, are looking into CBDCs. Their ambitions are driven by the need to keep up with private sector innovations in digital payments, which have pushed consumers to go cashless and led to the creation of cryptocurrencies and stablecoins. The sentiment was echoed by the Atlantic Council, which noted, "The world's central banks have realized that they need to provide an alternative or let the future of money pass them by. We are at a place in history where we can move away from centralized money and its inherent control, corruption, and coercion. We need not be passive, waiting to see how things unfold. We can be active, building better alternatives, building the future of money, which will empower individuals and liberate humanity. What say you?"
Damn, son. Wow. I liked that news.
I could spend a half an hour just discussing that. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Welcome to Incubator Weekly, everybody. I have with me today not one but two Incubator strategists. As always, my co-host Ryan and also strategist Ash. How are you fellas today?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, really good, thanks.
Great. So we have a ton to cover today. Let's jump right in. We're covering not one, not two, but actually three wallet or wallet extension related projects. Is that right, Ash?
Yeah, I would say they all kind of like sit within the same sort of general umbrella. The way I see these things being built is somewhat of two reference projects and then one sort of production project. The idea is that, anyone can look at these smaller scale projects and see how a wallet is built, either layer one or, interacting with platform, and learn from that without having to build a huge monolithic application and understand the workings of that. It's just a more granular sort of microservices based approach. That's kind of the goal behind them.
Okay.
I would guess that also helps with debugging and things like that.
Yeah, so exactly.
If you're experiencing some problem, it's one, two, or one of these three things instead of, it's like the React framework, or it's this wallet library, or it's some other tangential thing.
Yeah, and they act as like an upstream sort of master where all of their benefits that's developed against those wallets, the reference wallets, will then be pushed down to any implementation of those. And even where they learn, for example, those two reference projects, if they learn from the work that you've been doing, they will then implement that. And likewise, it's that whole sort of rising tide for all ships that are using the same sort of process. So yeah, that's the goal behind.
Okay. Well, I know that we have some demos. Can we take a look at the first one?
Absolutely. Let's give it a go. Let's try. Okay.
Nice demos. Love demos.
I love demos. Live demos. Interesting. Has it stopped sharing my screen? It has stopped sharing my screen. Let's share my screen again. Okay. All right. So live demos are sometimes prone to be getting wrong.
Yes, everybody pray to the demo gods.
Okay, so to begin with, this one I actually built very shortly ago. As you can see, 8:53 a.m. It is now 9:09. The reason being, it takes a little while. One thing with developing on Dash right now, on against a platform specifically, but some of these tools, they take quite a while. There's a long sort of process because you're building, a development project against another development project that's often in a state of flux. This will not be a long-term problem. Most people, for the vast majority of time, will be developing against testnet and then livenet. For us, it is a bit more complex right now because these things are changing constantly. You kind of have to build and rely on your own local structure. So this does take a while to build this project. When I say a while, maybe 5 minutes, but you've got dependencies you have to build before that. So I wouldn't say this is the easiest for everyone to get running, but in the future, it'll be a lot easier and it'll also be a lot faster because you would just
install an extension from your browser store, or just a load and unpacked extension, and it would take you 30 seconds to get this up and running. But anyway, as you can see here, I have built the extension just using sort of the build process within this Mayfar.
And what do you call this, Ash? Is this, because I know
so this is called the DashPay web extension. I'm not really that's not the name I gave it. That's just the original name from DCG. I just consider this sort of a Dash core reference extension. So this is all about layer one. This is just about doing transactions and accounts, layer one interaction. There's no platform features in this one. This is purely transactional basis using existing libraries that DCG have published and are working on, the SDKs. For Ryan, for example, some of the work he's doing is a lot more sort of purist. It doesn't rely too much on the SDKs produced by DCG and their dependencies and things like that, whereas this is built on that basis. So that, different approaches to the same problem.
When you say extension, do you mean web extension?
Browser extension. Yeah. So this is purely a browser extension. One key thing with the browser extension is, it's kind of just a web app, but with some sort of concessions for Google's sort of manifest and different browser limitations. Instead of a thing called a web worker, you have a service worker, but that's just like a little messenger behind the scenes that goes and pulls things from, it's part of the, communication layer between a web page or a decentralized application and an extension. But this wallet doesn't really have any of that. This one, it's all about just the extension itself running as a wallet. So let's carry on with this and see if we can get this going. Oh, I'll go into a new tab rather than the recursion. One second. Okay, so I'm going to load an unpacked extension, and I am going to browse to my profile, DashPay web extension, and I'm going to load up the folder for the Chrome extension. It can be shipped to Brave, Firefox, Chrome, whatever, any modern sort of browser. So yeah, there's no real issue in running it. And now I'm just going to pin the extension. So this is just the Dash Layer 1 extension. And I'll begin by creating a new wallet.
That's pretty.
Let's show my recovery phrase. Don't worry. This one key thing I'd say about these projects is they are not ready for production use. There needs to be security audits. Do not go out there and start using this and putting loads of money behind it. It is a development project. It is not production use. This project is largely complete, aside from some minor work on, securing with pins and how the keys are stored. The developer behind this actually looked into all the major sort of extension wallets like MetaMask and how they securely store those keys. I'm not going to bother with the verification. I'm just going to click off it. This is just a shortcut for now. And you can see I have a little Dash wallet. There's no transactions or anything. So why don't we just test that out by going to CrowdNode's nicely hosted faucet. Thank you. I will take the address, put it in there, and CPFFJ. Get coins. Oh, I entered it wrong. Yeah, it looked like it to me. I can review this. Okay. Hey, I've been awarded 3 Dash. So as you can see, that balance is already reflected in there. So this works really well as just like a quick wallet in your browser. And this is just demonstrating all those sort of layer 1 features of creating transactions, broadcasting them to the network in a very sort of minimal JavaScript focused way. When I say about like the web app and wrapping it for Chrome, the reason I say that is these kind of lightweight wallets could be built easily for other devices. They can be built for mobile, for desktop, all with different wrappers. And that's a key thing I want to touch on in the future. It's important for me to be able to deploy these applications to different things. I don't want any limitations. I want people to use the system that works for them. I want you to be able to sign on to a decentralized application by scanning a QR code on your mobile phone or anything like that. So I'm just going to send the Dash back to them just to show the send feature. I think the confirmations counts are wrong. How did it? Is it upset with me? Something's upset. Well, we got there. We got some transactions going on. We received some things. It could be just let's try. Sad. Well, there you go. You can see it sending and receiving some Dash. Well, you saw it receiving the Dash, not sending it yet. But yeah, it seems to be.
Tab, does that affect
no, but it might have been sort of just reading something on the page. I could try closing, but if I close this, it'll break the whole stream. Different tabs run in different threads on your device, but the actual extension runs entirely in its own separate thread. So a different tab wouldn't necessarily fix it, but I was seeing if it was picking anything else up. But it doesn't look very happy with me, so maybe not now. I probably have a debugger somewhere. I mean, I could even show you. You can see errors coming up here. So I'd have to spend quite a lot of time to fix that, I'm sure. So yeah, there's definitely some kind of issue that's happened there. But you know, this is a development project, and so it's not always expected to work perfectly and be production ready.
So one question about this one. I seem to recall that this project was spearheaded by DCG. I think you mentioned that also.
Yeah.
They have. Are they intending to continue working on this, even if it's through the incubator, and supporting that project?
Yeah, ultimately, it's an incubator project now. So DCG originated this. It was an internal thing. Then they weren't sure on bandwidth, and they had an external developer resource they wanted to continue using, Vasily. So Igor Markin, who works at DCG, actually managed this project as the admin on it. So I was the strategist, then Igor was the admin, and then the developer Vasily was underneath. And that worked really well, actually. It was a way for DCG to leverage the incubator and, you know, create that wider sort of participation and keep this project building, because it is a really valuable project. But DCG, you know, they're very focused on platform immediately and the mobile sort of DashPay side of things. So yeah, they came to us. We said, yeah, we'd happily support that. And yeah, since then, Vasily's been working on it. Unfortunately, at the moment, Vasily's time limited, but that project is largely complete for what we need it for in terms of a reference way to implement layer 1 transactions within an extension.
Cool.
Yeah, that's how that worked.
Great. Okay, can we have a look at the second project?
Absolutely. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. Do I need to reshare my screen? Oh, we're still here. Cool. Excellent. So I'm going to start by going to the GitHub repository for this. This is built by Alex Werner. So I'm just going to start by cloning that. Actually, I may actually already have the repo. Let's see.
And then what's this one called?
So this is just called a Dash platform extension reference or something. It's a very a very open-ended name. Well, to a descriptive name, not a very interesting name.
Okay. But unlike the last one, which was L1, this is a platform.
This is platform focused, yeah. So I'm just going to re-clone this in here.
Dang, I feel like I'm watching Mr. Robot.
Hardly. I am so far away from AJ and stuff. Well, okay, there we go. It's sped up. I was wondering why it was taking so long. I was like, we're going to be sitting here for a while whilst this works. Strange how slow it is.
So that previous one is called DashPay, but
it's not DashPay.
We should probably rename that, because
we have renamed the card, but we haven't renamed the repo. I think we should bring that repository into one of our organizations, whichever works. And right now it's a case of, if we want to finish that off and take that to a production state of just being a pure layer 1 extension using the SDKs, we'd need another developer, but not for very long. It would be maybe, you know, a week or two's work to just polish that off into something that is ready. The main thing there is the secure storage of the keys, and Vasily already did the sort of discovery work on that. It's just implementing that and the pins.
Okay.
Okay, so if I go into the extension folder, you can see there's actually this folder, so I can just load that up. So the difference between this one is the last one I had to actually build it, whereas this one is, there's a pre sort of built.
They're checking in the dist into the Git repo.
Yes. So I'm going to just go into that. It's still obviously all open source. It's not like a compiled binary. It's just a folder for a repo. So I can then go back into code, and this one has a very unhelpful name of just extension. So the distributor is, so I can just load that entire folder into Chrome, and now I can open a new tab, and let's unpin the old one and pin this one. and we're going to open up this extension. This one's a little less visual. So this one's a bit more early stage. So the goal for this one is those layer 2 interactions, the Dash platform interactions. The idea here is to create that library that DApp developers will use to communicate with the wallet. And we're exploring different ways to do that, whether we have that wider interoperability by using something like Wallet Connect, an existing sort of standard for these communication between different coin wallets and the extension, or if we have to roll our own. And to a degree, we probably will have to roll our own features because there's no other, project that quite has the same data writing sort of, they don't have Dash platform ultimately, and they're not designed so much for that data storage. So yeah, I'll just get started by creating a wallet. And as you can see, it's a usual typical wallet. And now I'm going to go to the boilerplate for an example decentralized application. So this page has that. This is very much a basic page for having that sort of decentralized application boilerplate. It has the library that communicates with the wallet itself. So I can just click Connect Wallet, and you can see it's connected to the wallet and it's brought in the same address that's on the wallet itself. And what happens here is there's like a layer of communication between the web page or the decentralized application and the extension. And in fact, it's somewhat more like a triangle where the extension and the DApp can communicate, the web page, the DApp can communicate to each other, but also the DApp can communicate requests to the extension, which the user then approves, and the extension is then writing that to layer 1 or to platform, and then the DApp itself is reading that from platform. So there's almost like this flow. There will be the two-way communication between the extension and the page, but there's also more data sources there. And the key important fact of this is just that communication layer. So if I have a governance website and I want to create a G object that's now on platform in the future, I can do that. I can prompt the user to write that governance object and create it, or I can say, hey, do you want to, I would like a key that gives this page permission, the DApp permission, all on the front end, never going off to any servers, to write to a Dash platform data contract. And then the user will get that approval pop up within the wallet. They'll get a pop up that'll say, yes, I approve sharing this data, this key, and they'll be able to revoke that within the extension, however that looks like. And the goal is that there's this passport between all these decentralized applications that you're bringing around with you, your user, multiple users that you can use for different, verticals. You might have an incognito user that you want to be really private with, or a user that's your public-facing professional profile, whatever it is. Yeah, and you can bring these all around. Any DApp can just integrate a very basic library and have the ability to create those actions on Dash platform without any sort of real complexity. And the goal is also that this would be mobile too, that you would have a QR code. I'll show more on the slides that I'm about to show you, that you'd have a QR code you'd scan, and it will create this communication layer between a DApp and a mobile wallet and platform. And the goal is just to make everything very free-flowing, very easy for developers, very easy for Dash users to onboard and to just get access to this whole ecosystem. But yeah, question time.
So do any of these buttons down at the bottom, are they wired up yet?
They're semi-wired up. I think they've broken as of the latest testnet 0.25 platform, but they did work for it briefly. There was a way to sort of write contracts. It's similar to Dash Chum in that respect. It had those sort of like more Dashmate side of things. That it had it had a little bit of extension data. It has layer 1 transactions in there already as well, even though it doesn't really, that's not necessarily the point of this project, but having a different approach to that is good. And it has all the kind of like service worker and communication layers updated for the latest sort of Google Chrome rules and manifest. So yeah, this is, again, early stage. A key thing I would say, so the last one's kind of semi-complete. This one is, I would say, early stage. And the next one is TBC. I would say that the key thing with this is like looking into that option of interoperability. So I think ICJR has said he's very interested in doing that, but he's quite busy at the moment. I really want to see if there is a way that we can be part of that greater ecosystem. If people can log on to whatever other DApp it is using their Dash wallet, and use their Dash identity in some fashion. Any way where we can, because it's not just about making it easy for us and our developers by using Wallet Connect. It's just access for everyone using our systems to that whole ecosystem and just the wider back and forth between everything. If you can sign on to a decentralized exchange using Dash because they've already got Wallet Connect on that decentralized exchange, and you can just use your DashPay wallet, that's ideal. And as that expands in the future, as we get Dash onto other wallets, more other sort of Web3 sort of native wallets, if we can have them support Dash usernames built in. It may require a lot of work just improving Wallet Connect and other standards to include those sort of data structures and support for Dash usernames, because unstoppable domains and whatever usernames and things, they're a different beast than our approach. Like ours is significantly more complex and significantly better, in my opinion. So yeah, there's a lot of work there.
So how would you see this interacting with something like Wallet Connect? We are in talks with them, by the way. I'm not sure if that will be successful or not, but the Maya guys, they spearheaded that discussion, and so we are trying to get connected through Wallet Connect. So would this be something that would work in tandem with that, or be replaced by that?
Yeah, no, 100%. So Wallet Connect would act as the effective library for the DApp developers to use, and they would use the Wallet Connect SDK and libraries to create that sort of communication layer. But at that point, anyone can then connect any wallet or to that site. But how many wallets are actually going to support that sort of platform feature set? Even if Wallet Connect add and extend their standard to include DashPay username features and platform features and whatever else, instance, any of these sort of things, how many wallets will be able to do that? So there's both sides to this. It's the Wallet Connect would be the library used by the DApp developers if we can get it to do everything we need it to do, whereas the actual extension has to do a lot more than that in terms of where it's signing, what it's creating, what it's writing to platform, how it's sharing keys to write to data contracts. Like, all these features are very novel, and they're not something that Wallet Connect or Ethereum wallets, MetaMask, anything like that has quite even touched upon yet, really. There are features not too dissimilar in terms of authorizing writing smart contracts and things like that, but it's it's very different, and I think that we'd have to do a lot of work with Wallet Connect to get that feature sort of equivalency. But yeah, I'm excited on that challenge, really, and I think it's really important that we are participant in that wider ecosystem.
Okay. So I saw a question for a minute there. It looked like from Halawi. Let's.
I think it's more of a comment, but yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Had a less than ideal experience with MetaMask.
Yeah, I mean, that is a demonstrable sort of that's how sort of we build the DApps at the moment. And it's a good way to do it. It allows you to basically quickly insert a wallet or create a seed. But the goal is that you won't have to do that. You're not going to have to write your mnemonic into every website everywhere and trust it. You'll be able to just create that sort of barrier of permission to this extension, and everything will be revocable, approvable. There's definitely a massive user experience factor here, and you'll be able to switch accounts and approve with different accounts, and just use this as your passport around the DApp ecosystem. That's the goal, anyway.
Nice. Is there any more for us to see on this one, Ash?
Yeah, not on this one. This is like early stage. It's more just about creating those sort of early boilerplate for the DApps and creating those flows and then expanding upon them, iterating upon them. Especially now so the reason this was kind of like stopped 4 months ago was just that lack of consistency with testnet and platform. But now it's more reliable. The actual ability to build your own sort of platform network is a lot better. So building your own developer network to work against is a lot better. And there's just been a lot of improvements. So I'd say, DCG have really focused on getting that whole sort of process a lot better. So yeah, the development will be resuming quite heavily on this.
I think you mentioned that you were connecting to version 0.25 on this one.
Yeah.
have you tried 0.24? Because my understanding was 0.24, while maybe not, it's not maybe not going to be the one that's going forward. It is working right now.
Yeah. Well, the issue with that first extension was there was a branch that was necessary for it to function, but that branch has been deleted off DCG's repos for whatever reason. And that included fixes for the extension to work. But I think those fixes may have been merged into 0.25. As you can see, it is working to a degree. It's just a question of whether, I could get these running. I was up very late, early this morning, trying to get this, some of these things running, because this was developed, against a much earlier version of platform, really.
Cool.
Well, then let's check out the third demo. And what
not a demo for this one, unfortunately. This one is more a presentation. Yeah. Unfortunately,
let's do it.
Let's go for it.
Okay.
Is it sharing my screen anymore? Oh, no,
no, I don't see that one just yet.
Let's get it up again. Share screen.
There we go.
Okay. So the sort of DashPay side of things, it's a wallet that just allows you to have that actual, all those social features, all those design. This is taking those two other projects that are more reference projects and developer sort of implementation into something that's visual and production, user-friendly, has all the extended features that you could hope, including, chat, which is the major sort of the killer part of this application, end-to-end encrypted chat. Well, not end-to-end because it's, it's user to platform encrypted, platform to user encrypted. Like, it is a fully encrypted chat wallet paid by a social wallet, powered by Dash platform. So users will be able to just completely sort of communicate with each other, request payments, send payments, attach memos. There'll be this whole flow of communication where you can actually add your friends, you can explore your social graph. So rather than being, here's an address or here's a username and you're just sending money and you're communicating on whatever else in person or WhatsApp or Facebook or Discord, whatever it is about that transaction, in this, it will be stored within the flow of the sort of wallet itself. So this will be produced. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Are these payments layer one payments?
So these are all layer one payments, but they'll have information attached to them powered by layer two. So the communication is all layer two, or the payments are layer one. At some point in the future, obviously, as more payment features are unlocked on a platform and it becomes more part of that system, this would obviously expand to cover that side of things. So yeah, the goal for this is that it's going to be a full sort of extension, as well as a desktop wallet, as well as a mobile wallet, all produced from a very similar code base, and just allowing everyone to sort of, anyone that wants to use very simple apps. Obviously, there will be the power users that still want to run their own full sort of blockchain, index blockchain, whereas this is more for that sort of retail user, I guess, more casual user. It'll still be fully, it's full, self-custody. At the moment, it will still be seed words, but this project could easily be expanded because of the social features to have guardians and private key sharding, where you have recovery systems, whether you can use, your social, your OAuth logins, like your Google login, as one part of that recovery. You could use a two-factor authentication because of how you could store the but it wouldn't be Google's two-factor authentication. It would be like a platform two-factor authentication. But there's so much you can do with this, and expand it to cover. And the idea is just it's a different wallet experience, where you're communicating and chatting and requesting money and talking to each other and sending payments. Yes, that's a great question, PME. Great question. I'm a big fan of private send. My goal for this is to take a slightly different approach and test how that works, and validate that idea. And the goal for this is that you'll have an incognito user or multiple incognito users whose funds are always private. The funds that go into them that are mixed, the funds that go out of them are entirely mixed. They will be, obviously, the funds that go into them that are mixed, it's complex, but as soon as funds come in, they would be mixed and resent. The goal is that you will have a way that's more user friendly. We're familiar with incognito and private modes and things and it'll be less sort of like choose your coin control, choose your coins and things. It'll be more that complexity will be extrapolated from the user. And in the future, as there's like more, Tornado Cash or whatever it is built against platform as like the matchmaking service, we'd implement all of that definitely.
So I'm looking at what looks to be a web app.
No, so that's the desktop. That's the example of the desktop. The mobile layout is the sort of example of the extension. But there's more slides. I will get moving on the slides so you can follow on there. So here's an example of how this would work in a real sort of situation. So Sodality is a Dash platform Patreon alternative. So it's a way to sort of support creators, create a reoccurring revenue for creators that's can't be cancelled, can't be stopped, isn't controlled by platforms that can, just deplatform you at any point. You're not building up value into something that, isn't.
We covered this last week.
Exactly. Perfect. Yes.
Wondering.
Yeah. And, it's important that this kind of thing is, accessible for users and that they can log in very easy. And it's part of that ecosystem. You need to have that symbiotic sort of seamless relationship with their wallet because of those regular payments. Even if you can have creation of smart contracts, the goal is that it's super user friendly. If a creator is referring people to it, they don't want them to have to, import a load of seed words or manually set loads of things up. They want it easy. So the flow would look a little like this. You would begin by clicking the sign in, and you've got two options there. You can either scan a QR code using your mobile wallet, which will probably
the DashPay wallet.
Yeah, the mobile version of this, not the current DashPay wallet.
Oh,
so DCG's DashPay wallet doesn't have much in the way of DApp onboarding. They're focused on DashPay as in the username based system right now. I'd like to think that in the future, this kind of, whether we lead that or they will implement features like this. But it's logical that they leverage the incubator and the work that we'll do in discovery and exploring and developing a standard for how that might look. So the goal, and also because the wallet, an extension wallet and a pure JS wallet is a lot more simple to iterate and build upon than a Kotlin versus and iOS and the questions of when's this coming to my iPhone, when's this coming from Android. So yeah, you could scan this with your mobile phone and it'll create that communication layer. I'm still not quite sure how that works. I'm still exploring how you would have that sort of communication between a DApp and a mobile wallet in terms of web workers and things. I'm pretty sure it's possible, but it may limit some of the feature set. It might be something where, it's another day, a chat for another day. But the other option here is that if you had that extension, you could just click your Connect wallet. And once you click your Connect wallet, it's going to prompt you in. It's going to ask you what account you want to use. So you have multiple accounts. You can choose if you're going to use your public facing or your private account. You can always sort of revoke that access. You could have multiple accounts. They don't want to know necessarily who you are. It's not there's no like a proof of individuality in this. It's just whatever account you want, and you'll approve that connection, and then you'll be logged in. So Grogu here is nicely logged in. He can do all his actions, and further actions like creating a payment will always prompt that authorization. But in the future, I imagine you could set some threshold for that as well, and writing to sort of the network, writing to a platform, whether you're creating a comment that's stored on platform, that will also be approved by the extension. And they'll just trigger that pop-up. It'll be really seamless. They have limited some of what extensions can do specifically on Chrome, but that those limitations won't really hurt us in any way. They're actually healthy limitations for security. The wallet, like I said, full chat wallet, fully focused on being on mobile, on desktop, and extension. We're going to start with the extension, so don't expect everything to all come at once. The extension's the simplest and the most accessible, really, to do, and it's easy to do that layer of communication between the decentralized application and the extension. The extension will probably have a full screen view pretty soon after that looks like this, so you'll be able to still use the extension as a full wallet. You'll be able to pop it out and it'll just be in the sort of web browser view, and you'll be able to use it for all that, but it'll also be seamlessly integrated with your browser in terms of interacting with decentralized applications. So that covers that side of things. And let's talk about the future briefly as well, and then I'll answer all the questions. I want to just expand this. I want to turn this into something that's really production ready, accessible to anyone to use, empowering like for users. I want them to use this, and I want them to have that eureka moment. I want them to see all the DApps they can use, the accessibility. I want them to be able to move in and out. I want them to have incognito and be private if that's their purpose. I want them to be able to stake and earn money, whether that's adding liquidity to decentralized exchanges or earning money through a trustless masternode or shared masternode shares, whatever it is. I want to implement all these things, and these services are not that complex. I've already, obviously, you guys know I put a lot of time into on and off ramps and decentralized exchange and Dash Direct. So all of these things I know are reasonably possible, and DCG are working on this. None of this is supposed to completely like supersede DCG, but these things are more accessible within a web-based framework because they're kind of designed for that, and we can iterate quickly, we can test and validate ideas, and that kind of thing will come quickly to DCG too. So yeah, now I'll open the floor.
When you say DCG is working on this, I think that you mean that they're working on integrating some of those things into
exactly
like mobile wallet.
Yeah,
specifically.
Yeah, exactly. They're very heavily focused on the mobile wallet sort of user experience. My concern right now with that, and it's not a criticism of DCG because we all understand the bandwidth constraints. I wouldn't say my concern, but my focus is ensuring we have a really healthy platform launch. I'm worried about, launching something and expecting the expectations there not being managed without having an actual ecosystem to back it up. And it's probably true that the launched app will be DashPay, and DashPay, the username system, is a decentralized application. But having an actual, wider ecosystem, and not just for us, but for developers coming into this space, so they see reference projects and they see, that this is a supportive ecosystem supporting third parties building against this is really important, and that's what I'm keen to keep working towards.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any additional questions. Those were all really pretty. It was nice to see. And well, no, I guess one question I might have is the need for all three. You said that the first two anyway were more like reference, so that somebody can come see like, oh, how can I? Because I guess
this is being used. Those projects are being used to build this project. So this project isn't going to be solving the layer 1 transaction problem or the DApp communication problem. This is actually a simpler project because this is integrating those and then wrapping them in a more user-friendly UI, and then also those extended services, which are also more simple in ways. So those projects will act as the upstream source of truth for how layer 1 transactions and DApp communication is done. And this project is actually taking those parts and then building it out. Yeah, exactly. Into something that's user focused and friendly. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well,
the only other question that people are going to be wondering is when.
Yeah, that's a great question. So that first extension, obviously largely complete. We could get that production in probably 2 weeks of dev time, I would say. Probably a security audit would be healthy for something like that, so that would take a longer period. For the other one, that is an open-ended question. Ultimately, whether we go for the Wallet Connect approach or whether we roll our own is very important. If we roll our own, I'd like to start just quickly with a sort of more minimal approach in terms of approving data contracts, like message signing and creation of transactions. It will be something that will be very quickly iterated upon and expanded, and it's something that's very important we do right. There would have to be DIPs associated with that. There would have to be a process of creating a standard that's very sort of open and libraries for that. So that would be very important, because that once there is sort of that DApp library that's getting wider use, it's really important that most developers will be implementing that DApp library, and that needs to work for all those developers and be very secure, obviously, as well. And for the extension, so the production extension, so that is being worked on now. I imagine I will have more to show in 2 months or so, which I'll come on a show with you, Amanda and Ryan, hopefully, with actual real demos of that project as it progresses. Right now, there are features, but those features were built, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And those are features like the chat. The chat does work. There is a decentralized sort of chat, end-to-end encrypted sort of chat in there, but this was built against a much earlier version of platform. Now that platform's stable again, we're kind of rebuilding a lot of it. Another thing, it was built against Ionic 4 using Vue. Now we're on Ionic 5. A lot of the stuff has been deprecated that it uses. It's a case of we kind of got this large sort of workload ahead of us to basically refactor the entire code base and build some of these new features. So I imagine 2 months to a demo, sort of a testnet based demo project that people will also be able to install. This isn't a, I have to, build it on my machine. In fact, none of these are. You could build any of these yourself. All of this is all open source and relatively easy, I guess. But in terms of actually taking that to production, I would say 4 to 6 months. Again, for the extension with some of the additional features for chat and payments, definitely, obviously, and user account switching. All of that will be in, 4 months, I imagine, ready to go. Obviously, security audits are a complex sort of thing, budgeting those and, the time frames of that kind of thing. And then after the fact, it will be a case of those extended features. So having decentralized exchange, we're already looking into how we can do that with Maya and ThorChain in a sort of more user-friendly, sort of clean way, because, the issue with that is, to create a decentralized exchange transaction, you need to be able to create like Bitcoin transactions and Ethereum transactions. And how do you do that in a wallet that's a light wallet without, having all this, huge amount of what's the word for it? But just running so many more services, it's just exponentially more complex. The more cryptos you add to it. So, yeah, I would say 6 months to a good, feature. Largely feature complete, not all those extended features. Those are, the crowd node, the Dash Direct stuff. That's maybe production ready project, I would say. But in 2 months, I'll have a lot more to show on that front.
Okay.
Great. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, Ash. We definitely look forward to seeing that. And of course, we look forward the most of all to seeing that on mainnet platform.
Oh, yes.
Yes?
Yes,
Okay.
indeed. Of course.
Yes, good. Okay, well, that is everything for us this week. And we'll be back same time, same place next week. So we look forward to seeing you then. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.